kind of starstruck. So
I was chasing a lot of times the numbers, and I chased the title. Didn't happen.
No?
I was very happy.
we were all thinking it. So
I was
as
very
fans, of course.
I was right after 1 year. I stepped in. We got our first win. KTM was the winner in MotoGP. I needed to calm down because when you are a racer, you are impatient. I don't like the aero thing and the devices, but
All right, so we're out here at the KTM Cup Season 3. Well, this is the finale out here at Coimbatore at the Kari Motor Speedway. And we have none other than, well, the little samurai himself who made the number 26 famous all across the world, Mr. Dani Pedrosa himself.
hello.
Yes. So nice to meet you, Danny.
Nice to meet you.
Glad to finally interact with you. So yeah, couple of questions for you, obviously. So first of all, you've been described as one of the greatest in the sport in MotoGP, but unfortunately, that elusive MotoGP title has eluded you over the course of time. So runner-up 3 years. How has that shaped your view of success and legacy in this particular sport?
Of course, I was chasing a lot of times the numbers, and I chased the title. Didn't happen at the end, but anyway, I think I have to be very proud of what I achieved, and I had my time, and I look back and I think how much I learned from the hard times, and what also I did in order to overcome certain difficulties, and in the process that had an impact on some of the fans as well. So they appreciate, I think, at least this is what they tell me, that they appreciate my riding style, my mentality, and the way to how to fight hard situations. So I'm super humbled by the fact that I could inspire some other people.
Now, back in 2018, you brought your 13-year-old sprint or your tenure with Honda Racing to an end. You brought that stint to an end. So, what pushed you to that point? What made you walk away from that particular part of your life and in the sport?
Well, I was seeing myself not progressing anymore at the time, and I needed a break. I was a bit over the point, overdoing things, and finally I needed a rest. But in MotoGP, you cannot have a rest. So then I decided to call it
A day.
the end, and then I think it was the good time.
All right. Oh, all right. So switching to KTM from Honda. So basically, what convinced you to make that move? Because that was a completely you're switching to an all-new team in the sport. So what made you make that decision?
Well, I think in that period, KTM was very interested in develop the bike, and my skills are one of my best skills is to feel the bike, so I can tell very well how the bike is working and why.
All right.
So then, at that time, one of my all-time mechanics was working in KTM. So
Alright.
we could join forces again and make a good project. So that's what basically made me change.
Oh, awesome. Great to know. And yeah, now KTM went from struggling newcomers to, well, winning races, and they got a lot of, they did well after you joined the team. So, what was your proudest moment and your proudest contribution to the team from that point?
Of course, at the beginning it was a bit complicated to make the bike work well.
Okay.
So we had 1 year where the work was constant and very hard to understand what is the issue and how to fix it. But once we got a bit of road clean, then I managed to understand a few points on the bike, translate it to the team. They made good modifications, and right after 1 year, I stepped in. We got our first win.
Oh,
So
awesome.
KTM was the winner in MotoGP, a race
Right.
winner. So I think this is the proudest feeling.
Oh, that's lovely. All right. Now, yeah. Now, can you please explain to me now that you're testing the bike and helping them develop the machine for this particular race series. So, what is the difference in mindset Like going from a MotoGP racer now to the development phase, what is the mindset? Is there a change in the mindset that you have, and how so?
Absolutely, absolutely. I needed to calm down because when
Okay.
you are a racer, you are impatient. You are very driven, so you don't have time to wait for improvements. You want things to be quickly fixed. Now, for instance, I understand all the process behind analysis, behind building new parts,
Okay.
behind testing the new parts and understanding that many times the new parts are not right away better.
Okay.
So I'm more patient now.
Okay, but how do you gauge success from this point? Because when you're competing, obviously you want to be first, you want to make it to the podium. But now, how do you gauge that level of success being in the testing phase of things or on the other side of it?
Now it's more difficult for me because when I was racing on the track, it depends on me. So once I do the start, it's all on me and the bike. This means that I have the control to create the good result or the wrong result.
Okay.
But now I'm not racing, so I do I do work previous and let's say in the shadow work, but then I give the control to someone else. Let's say in this case Pedro Acosta or Brad Binder, they
Right.
need to do the result. So it's a bit more difficult this part because sometimes it's not in your hands. You do
Right.
what you can do, and then after you have to give control to someone else
Right.
and trust that they can do it.
They can carry it forward
Exactly.
and get the same performance out of that same machine.
Exactly.
Oh, that's brilliant. Now, back in 2023, the Spanish GP, Jerez in particular, yeah, you had a wildcard entry. You did really good in qualifying in the sprint. You topped FP1, if I'm not mistaken. So, did you have that moment thinking, what if? What if I stayed?
Actually, no.
No?
I was very
Okay.
happy.
We were all thinking it, so.
I was
As
very,
fans, of course.
I was very happy just to see how welcome I was again by the crowd, by the spectator.
For those watching at home.
How much
For those watching
they
at home.
enjoyed me watching me on the track. So this was beautiful. But that weekend we got sprint start, red flag, another start,
Right,
red
right.
flag again, and
It was chaotic.
yeah,
It
a bit
was-
chaotic. So
yeah.
I was fine with not racing. But anyway, we end up racing again in Misano that year
Right.
and finish almost on the podium.
Right. After extending your role at KTM on a couple of occasions, let's say, what keeps you motivated at this point to keep going in this part of your career, in this part of life? What keeps you going right now?
Huh. It's a mix. It's a mix of learning for myself. So I learn now how to deal more with people. I learn more how to motivate people. Because I work with engineers, I work with designers, I work with team principals, I work with mechanics, and I have to manage and riders, and I have to manage to make them and to all be motivated to the same goal. That's a learning that I'm motivated to, and then another thing is the passion that I have for racing. That this always is a fuel that I get in order to achieve good things in life. So
No, but I mean to say, how different is it from being on the bike and competing? Is there a difference in motivation? Or do you have to be motivated before, but now you're taking the role of the motivator, so to speak?
they motivate. I mean, the reward feeling if you win is very similar.
Okay.
If you are the winner or you are part of the winning. Okay, the
Right.
reward feeling when you cross the line and you are in the podium or winning is more or less the same. But the feeling is different, especially because when you are the rider, you have a lot of pressure.
Right.
You have a lot of pressure. So in this regard, when we are racing, we don't feel now. I don't feel this kind of pressure. So that's a relief.
So that's brilliant. Yeah. Can you describe one of the biggest challenges you ever faced being in the on the competitive side, like as a racer in MotoGP?
The bike size, the bike power is
course.
very challenging for me because I'm very small.
Right. And being one of the, let's say, height or being one of the shorter riders on the circuit, is
I'm
there
the
any way
short-
that
I'm the shortest.
the shortest? So, did you have any kind of special way to prepare, like physically, mentally, for
Well,
taking on the challenge of competing at the highest echelon of this sport?
I did all the best I could. Of course, I had to learn and improve my technique. My
Yeah.
physical aspect also, I had to work a lot. Some other riders, they don't train as much.
Right.
I probably was one of the most fit in regarding to size weight ratio.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
Maybe, obviously, I was not the strongest because I'm the smallest, but
Right.
I was the one of the ones that I push more off the bike to get fit and get mentally strong for sure.
Brilliant. And so now, how's the bike evolved? Like from before, from your time during your competition period in your career, down to now when you're helping develop the bike in terms of aero, in terms of the electronic aids on there, the whole shot devices, the aerodynamics coming into play and everything. What is your take on the matter? And would there be something that you would change if you were in charge?
I think technology is going is taking a direction that you cannot stop it. So we are seeing this evolution in electronics, in aerodynamics, in devices, because it's the way that racing goes. So it's very hard to, if you are in charge, to cut these things. Obviously, the bikes before were nicer to ride than the ones now because you don't have that much help.
Okay.
But it's how it is. Evolution is going forward and you cannot stop it.
Okay. So there's nothing that you would change in particular at this particular point in time.
Uh,
You're happy with the progress that it's being made.
I mean, I don't like certain things, that's for sure. I don't like the aero thing and the devices, but
Okay.
anyway, the competition, you always try to find the next thing. So if you block this road, somebody will find the next road.
It's been lovely to talk to you.
Okay.
Thank you for your
Thank
time and everything. Cheers.